Let's dive right into this explainer of T. Harv Eker's transformative concepts on wealth building. If you've ever wondered why some people just seem to attract wealth totally effortlessly, while others are working themselves to the absolute bone just to scrape by month to month, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're unpacking secrets of the millionaire mind. And listen, we aren't talking about hot stock tips or real estate hacks here. We are going straight to the root, the subconscious programming that literally dictates your financial reality.
So, the absolutely crucial point Ecker makes right out of the gate is that trying to fix your finances purely with external actions is kind of like trying to erase a typo on a printed page without actually fixing the computer file. Think about it. You print a document, you spot a glaring error, you grab an eraser and rub it out, and then you hit print again. Guess what? That exact same error is going to pop right back out of the printer. A lack of money is just the printout, it's simply a result. If you actually want to change the physical results in your life, you've got to go back into your mental software and rewrite the code.
And Ecker knows this from some pretty brutal personal experience. Throughout his 20s, the guy started multiple businesses, worked tirelessly, but just kept crashing and burning. Then he got this piece of advice from a very wealthy friend of his dad's, who basically told him, hey, rich people fundamentally think differently than you do. Well, Eckert took that to heart. He completely overhauled his internal subconscious programming, and he launched a retail fitness store using a $2,000 credit card loan. And because his internal software was finally fixed, he scaled that single shop to 10 stores in just 2.5 years, and ultimately sold half the company to a Fortune 500 corporation for a cool 1.6 million bucks. Mindset was literally the only differentiator. So here's how we're going to map out this entire journey today. First, we'll look at the root of wealth. Second, your financial blueprint. Third, reprogramming that money mindset. Fourth, rich versus poor mentalities. Fifth, the 6 account system. And finally, the actions you need for a millionaire mind. Let's get into it. Section 1. The root of wealth. The inner world creates the outer world. The foundational theory here is that your physical world is really just a printout of your mental, emotional, and spiritual worlds. Aker uses this brilliant metaphor of a tree. Picture a tree representing your life, and the fruits hanging on the branches are your results. If you look at those fruits, your finances, and they're too small, or they just don't taste good, or there aren't nearly enough of them, what's our natural instinct? We focus on the fruits, right? But you cannot change the fruits that are already hanging on the tree. You can, however, water and nourish the roots to completely change tomorrow's harvest. The invisible creates the visible. Think of it exactly like the thermostat in your house. Permanently improving your finances requires resetting your internal gauge through conscious awareness. If your living room is sitting at 72 degrees, it's because the thermostat is set right there. If you throw up in a window and a freezing breeze drops the room to 65, what happens? The heater kicks on and pushes it right back up to 72. The exact same thing happens with your money. This is exactly why you see lottery winners so often lose absolutely everything within a few years. Their financial thermostat is set to poor, so their subconscious just sabotages their wealth, maybe through terrible investments or suddenly deciding to buy 3 boats, just to return them back to their comfortable, familiar set point. Section 2, your financial blueprint. The process of manifestation. Okay, so how does this internal thermostat get programmed in the first place? This step-by-step formula shows exactly how manifestation actually works in the real world. Whatever results you are getting right now, rich or poor, they are just the end product of your initial programming. It goes like this. Your programming leads to your thoughts lead to your feelings drive your actions, and your actions determine your results. Most of us try to intervene right at the actions level, but the reality is the action is way downstream from the actual root cause. Aker points out 3 primary ways our money blueprint gets conditioned when we're kids, and figuring out which one affected you is really the very first step to freedom. First is verbal programming. Things you heard like, we can't afford it, or money doesn't grow on trees. Those phrases just become your truth. Second is modeling. Did money flow easily for your parents, or was it a source of bitter, stressful arguments? You probably unconsciously adopted their exact approach. And third is specific incidents. Aker shares this incredibly heavy story from his research about Josie, an operating room nurse who uncontrollably spent every single dollar she ever earned. Why? Because when she was 11, she actually watched her father die of a massive heart attack during a screaming match over money. Her subconscious inextricably linked money with absolute pain and death. So as an adult, she got rid of it as fast as possible to avoid that pain. Section 3, reprogramming your money mindset. Let's look at the 4 elements of change.
So to actually overwrite your old, buggy software, you have to follow these 4 steps. You have to recognize the pattern, understand where it came from, separate yourself from those inherited beliefs, and finally, install brand new mental files. It's pretty simple. You can't fix something you don't even know is broken. So awareness is step 1. Understanding lets you clearly see that this blueprint isn't actually you. It's just a file you downloaded from your parents or your childhood environment. Disassociation is where you actively choose to say, I'm letting this go. And reconditioning is where the real daily work happens. I'd actually invite you to place your hand over your heart right now and state your intention out loud, because Eker stresses that this physical ritual is absolutely key to embedding new programming. Now, there is a very deliberate reason we use the word declaration and not affirmation. An affirmation states that a goal is already happening. And let's be honest, your brain often completely rejects that as a lie. But a declaration? That's an intention to act. It has physical resonance. Touching your heart, speaking it out loud, and then touching your head. It physically bridges your physical and mental worlds. Section 4. Rich versus poor mentalities, the wealth files. And just as a quick aside, when we say rich and poor here, we are talking entirely about a way of thinking, not the current balance in your checking account. The gap in pure intention between these two mindsets is absolutely massive. Playing the victim and constantly complaining literally acts as a giant crap magnet, whereas wealthy minds just take total control. If you're constantly blaming the economy, justifying your terrible situation, or just complaining all the time, you are putting out this negative energy that attracts exactly what you were complaining about. Rich mentalities play to win. They aim for absolute abundance. Poor mentalities, they play defense. They just want to make sure the rent is covered this month. And guess what? The universe will usually give you exactly the bare minimum that you ask for. Eker suggests adopting this really cool Hawaiian huna philosophy, bless that which you want, because secretly resenting wealth puts you on a wavelength that actively repels it. If you see someone driving a beautiful sports car and you sneer at them or judge them, your brain registers that having a nice car makes you a bad person. So your brain will do everything in its power to prevent you from getting one. Wealthy mentalities bless the success of others. They also don't sit around waiting for perfect conditions. They get ready, they fire, and then they aim and adjust along the way. Meanwhile, the poor mentality is still completely paralyzed, overanalyzing all the potential obstacles. Look, your time is strictly limited, so trading hours for dollars is a massive trap. You have to create systems or businesses that earn money totally independent of your time. If you only get paid for your time, you're putting a hard, concrete ceiling on your income. Because last time I checked, there are only 24 hours in a day. Rich people choose to be paid based on results, meaning if they deliver immense value, they get immense returns, regardless of whether it took them 10 hours or 10 minutes. Furthermore, they don't buy into the false choice between happiness or wealth. They demand both, because they operate from a place of pure abundance. All right, Section 5, the 6-account system. This is all about practically managing the money you have right now. This beautifully structured 6-account system ensures you balance your vital living expenses with mandatory investments, self-nurturing play, and continued learning. So 50% of your income goes straight to necessities. But here is where the real magic happens. 10% goes into a financial freedom account that you absolutely never spend. You only invest it. And equally important, 10% goes into a play account that you must spend every single month. Yes, you heard me right. Mandatory massages or completely guilt-free fancy dinners. You have to do it to make yourself feel rich and nurtured. It brilliantly balances the disciplined energy of saving with the absolute joy of receiving. Finally, Section 6. Actions for a Millionaire Mind. The be, do, have principle. To actually solidify this entirely new financial blueprint into your everyday life, you've got to do the work. You need to lean into power thinking rather than just passive, fluffy, positive thinking. Positive thinking tries to pretend everything is fine when it's really not. Power thinking acknowledges that your thoughts aren't actually inherently true. They're just perspectives. So you might as well choose a perspective that empowers you. You also have to act in spite of fear. You don't just wait around for the fear to magically vanish. You take action anyway. The sequence is be, do, have. First, be the person with a millionaire mind. Then do the exact actions they take. And only then will you have the incredible results they enjoy. So if a lack of money is truly just a symptom of your inner world, what do you think would happen to your life if you stopped complaining, both out loud and in your head, starting right this very second?
Eker challenges everyone to go 7 full days without a single complaint. No blaming the economy, no grumbling about traffic, no justifying your setbacks. If you can clear out that toxic, negative energy of complaining for just 1 week, you will stop acting as a magnet for problems and you'll start acting as a massive magnet for opportunities.